Last question before opening it up to audience questions, because I know a lot of people have questions, and I know you've kindly agreed to sign everybody's books, is Secretary Carter, walk me through a day in the life of the Secretary of Defense. Do you sleep at all from the time you wake up in the morning? How does it work? Are you briefed at 5 a.m., 6 a.m.? And walk me through what happens in the day. How many world leaders do you speak to? How much do you speak to the president, etc.? What is happening on a very busy day for you?
I'll take a day at home every day. Every day is
Okay.
busy. I'll just pick a few highlights. You know, my staff would have me schedule hour after hour after hour, and you'd have to fight for the time to do things like write that statement on women in service. I wrote that myself. It had to be just right. I wrote when we first talked about how we were going to defeat ISIS, I wrote that myself in my own words, because it had to be just right from my, and so you have to carve out a little time. But anyway, what I remember most is you wake up in the morning. I remember this for the day after the inaugural, because it didn't feel this way. But you'd wake up for a moment. If you've ever had a close relative die, for a while you wake up in the morning and at first you're okay, you're sort of, and then you remember, and your stomach goes like this. Every day is like that, because you wake up from and then you start worrying and thinking about all the things that are, you got to do and get. So that's a lot of, constant preoccupation and pressure. But you're right. Then foreign leaders come and visit. The president will have a meeting, either a National Security Council meeting, or he and I would meet in his office, usually with the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, also with the National Security Advisor, just to talk informally outside of the big fora. You'd do a press conference, you'd do a hearing, you'd meet with the Joint Chiefs or your combatant commanders and talk about what's going on in the world, or what we're going to do, what our war plan is for this or that, what ops we're conducting. This day, so everything is chock-a-block because the place is so big and so complex.
But does it start like at 6 o'clock? You're getting a briefing in the tank by the chiefs of
the very first things you get are a CIA briefing and the president's daily brief, which I'm going to be honest with you, I did not always consume. Sometimes I looked at it in written form. It just took too much time. But because I had to look at the overnight operational clips too, what has happened, you authorized a raid or something, how did it go? You have to look at press stuff from around the world. So that's first kind of situational awareness. Then I'd typically have a meeting of the big four, me, the Deputy Secretary of Defense, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and the Vice Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And we'd sit around a little round table in my office and say, well, okay, what do we do today? What are we doing? What are our priorities? And that's where we'd get synced on big things. I'll give you an example. The day that the Iran nuclear deal was concluded, excuse me, which was not our responsibility to conduct negotiations like that, but I had a stake in it in the sense that if it worked, Iran wouldn't have nuclear weapons, and if Iran did have nuclear weapons, that was a big headache for me, to put it mildly. But not having them have nuclear weapons didn't mean I had no headaches. So the Iran nuclear deal could not ever have been a grand bargain with Iran. And so I remember Marty, who was the chairman of the Joint Staff, said to me that morning after the deal, well, Mr. Secretary, what are your instructions to the department?
And this is
Marty, at that morning meeting, Marty Dempsey, chairman of the
okay.
Joint Chiefs. And I said, don't change anything we're doing. We want to continue to have the so-called military option to take out their nuclear program. If they won't get rid of their nuclear program, we'll keep that going. We'll keep our troops in the Gulf. We'll keep our missile defenses. We'll keep our defenses of important friends and allies in the region, including especially Israel, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that was done at the morning meeting. And it was a plan that Marty and I could kind of get our heads around. What did this new agreement mean for us?